Hello everyone, it's Vikio, and today I'll be showcasing an updated deck profile for Ice Snow. And I haven't done that stuff on my channel that much, but I really have been having fun with a lot of the new pieces from Ex8, that being Suzune's line with Penguinmon, Digimon, Polar Bearmon, and Skydiamon. And I think it's a really fun addition to the deck, just because now you get some extra control tools along with being able to climb up the line a little bit easier. And the inherits are really fun just because it makes the deck a little bit more controlling in a different way. And again, I've just been having a lot of fun with it. And I will probably do stuff like this, later on. Maybe just do some updated deck profiles here and there. But as of now, we're talking about Ice Snow. And of course, this is going to be on TCG, a free simulator made by Wong's team. So if you guys want, you guys can go check it out on his channel and stuff. But again, if you guys like my content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It really does mean a lot. And I do have a Discord server, so if you guys want to join that, it will be linked down below. And now let's just get into the actual video. Now let's just start off with the eggs like usual, and I won 4 copies of the Digimon from EX7. The draw 1 if your opponent has no evolution card, or a Digimon with their evolution cards, which is kind of good. And I mostly just want it simply for the Penguinmon because you do also want the re-evolution, so there's that. But again, decent draw card. And then I also want some Floodgates, Otamamon from EX7 just to stop play cost reduction, and also the Madoki just because again memories can be a bitch sometimes for some decks, so you're gonna want to stop that from time to time. Then I want 2 Gomamon from BT14 simply just because I think the Trash Adding Soldier is also good, along with the fact that if they delete your stack, you pretty much get free body, and I've been liking this at 2 copies at the moment. So you can obviously cut it for more Ice Snow stuff, but I don't mind it simply just for the unblockable and just Trash Adding Souls. Then I also won 3 Blue Co from EX7. This actually can double hit, and it's your main Soldier just because you can grab an Ice Snow or Hexa and Paildramon. So obviously in my case I do want some of the EX7 line here and there, so it can just do that at time. And the inherit can be decent just because again when attacking try to chop source, and since I don't want a whole lot just try to chop source, I mostly just won the Suzune line along with just a little bit of the EX7 just because at least like the -1 security attack, but it is what it is. It's still a decent inherit because sometimes your opponent just goes wide with a bunch of tall stacks, so it can come up. And of course I won 4 of the Penguinmon from EX8. This actually is really insane just because again it reduces your Ice Snow stuff by 1, so it makes stuff like Digimon cost 1, it makes your Pyldra cost 1, and in my case I want Korikaku, so that can make it full cost, which is also just really good. And the -1 security attack is actually also really insane just because it helps you control the board in different ways. Now let's just move on to the champions, and I like to run 3 Korikaku, and this might seem a little bit high too, but again, I really don't mind it. The evolution cost is kind of steep, but I think overall it's still a really good call for the deck. It's 7k, so it's a pretty big champion, along with the fact that again I really do love its on play to basically stun something, so it works really well with Skydiamon, and the fact that it has jamming as you hear it can also be really nice as well. And also is a hybrid, so I do like to run full Suzune along with some Davises, so that way I think I can easily reach more than 4 memory 2 hybrid game potentially, and that's also just really nice overall, so I like to run 3 for that reason. I also like to run 1 Sorcerymon, and this is very situational, but it can come up from time to time because say if you play with Skydiamon, you can unsuspend it with its effect potentially and not waste the unsuspend with Skydiamon's when digivolving, so that's pretty nice. Another thing you could do is say swing with Korikaku and then passed on by just hall slamming this, so that way you can unsuspend Korikaku and also get a blocker, so I think that's kind of neat. I also want 2 of the Paildramon from EX7, and honestly again I don't really want this nearly as much just because I think my other level 4s are kind of nicer for the most part, and this is still really useful because you can potentially gain jamming and blocker, which is really nice, and the inherit is the same thing as the Blucomon, so it's decent, but I'd rather just not try to double up as much as this just for the end game. And of course I want 4 of the Digimon from EX8. This is also another really insane card just because of the fact that you can potentially gain memory, so if you evo this over the Penguinmon, that's basically essentially a free evolution, which I like, along with the fact that it's on play, and I think it's one of the few level 4s with Ice Snow that actually has Ice Clad, so that's also really good as well. And the inherit same thing as Penguinmon, so obviously helps you stall. Now moving on to the level 5s, and I run 2 of the Christ Pyldra from EX7. And this is also a fine enough card, mostly for the just trash any two sources, and you could potentially get the unsuspend off, from time to time, which is kind of nice. And again, one of the main combos I really like with this guy is just to pair up with Koikaku once again, where you swim with Koikaku and then get jammy, and then you basically unsuspend with this and potentially swim again, which is nice. And the inherit is also really good just because again helps you deal extra damage, and that's always good. And especially if you pair up with Hexablamon, that's basically 3 checks on one guy. And then I also run, of course, full of the Polar Bearmon, and this is an insane level 5. I absolutely love it, simply for the fact that, again, it trashes any two sources, and then it can basically apply a Venusmon-like effect on a Digimon, which is just absolutely insane. And again, I think you need to run full of this. Thankfully, it's an uncommon, but still really good just for this fact that it can stop when Digivolving, and it also has the benefit of, can't, suspend stuff, which is also really good, but again, on level 5 with on play, that's just great. And I also like to run 2 Zulumons just for the ace potential. Say sometimes you could just Hall Slam this guy, or even that with Skadaimon, you could just Hall Slam something like, any of your level 4s to potentially just set for this guy, balance of stuff. We all know what Zero does, and I like to run it as a 2-off at the current moment. Now moving on to level 6s, and I like to run 3 of the Ex8 Hexablamon. I think if you've been in the community for a while, you kind of know what the card does, but if you don't, it's just trash any full sources. And if your opponent has no Digimon with evolution sources, bomb that Katamo, which is really solid. It has Ice Glide +1 check, so that way you could always do 2 checks with this guy, and then you could run this at full, easily. You could just change the mega ratio as I have, but I think 3 is fine enough. And of course, just really fantastic card. The only thing that kind of does suck in my opinion, it's not like a 3-cost evil over an Ice Snow, but I guess it's more balanced like that. And the opponent's tone is also really good as well, just because again stops stuff from suspending. And then we also have 2 Skadaimon. Honestly, again, you could also run this at like 3 if you want to replace the Bikemon, but I think 2 is fine enough. And of course, this can obviously just do a lot of damage randomly because you have the unsuspend. And I really do like it's basically Chaos Deck-like effect where you just place a Soulstorm Digimon into security. It's any Digimon, so you can put your owns as well. So it's just a free recover, and I really like it for that. I also really do like the barrier because it's only 12k and you don't really get a whole lot of buffs in the deck, so I think that's also really nice overall. Again, fantastic card, and you could bump it up if you want to. Then I also want 2 Zulumons simply just because, again, Digivolve, and say if you could potentially just set up another ace play by playing off, say, your Polar Bearmon or this guy, the Quest by Elgimon, so that's really good. And the fact that it can kill stuff with 1 less source is also really nice as well, so I just like it for that. Now we also do have the Tamers, and I like to run 2 Davids just pretty much for the search for blue Digimon, and it's a memory cell, so that's also nice. And of course I like to run 4 Suzune just because this is your main Tamer, and I really do like its start main phase, gain a memory if your opponent's a Digimon, really easy to meet that condition. And I also do like it strips any soul, so it can bypass Digimon that have protection effects like Galamon X, where they're unaffected by Digimon on your turn for the most part. So I like it for that, and it's also 3 costs, so it's also really cheap. And again, I really like to just run it at full for pretty much those reasons. And the rest of the cards are pretty much just consistency options: 2 blue memory boosts, 2 scramble, and then 3 trainings. Now let's go over some recommended cards, and I think you could also run BT6 Kairamon. Mostly just because the draw 1 effect isn't on attack, it's basically when you strip the source, and I thought that could be pretty decent. You also have BT8 Hyromon, where, the all tones, you get a 1k buff if your opponent has no Digimon with sources, so I think that'd be kind of nice. While it pretty much would just make your guy like 13k at most, I still think it could be kind of useful to potentially be over some stuff. Of course, Pokemon is always an option if you wanted to run it as well, just for the easy access of jamming. And also, I think if you want to run yellow base, BT14 Tokamon is probably your best bet, simply just because you can use Skymon effect to basically draw 1, and I think that's pretty neat. And it really would work really well with the BT16 Patamon, simply for the free evolution as well. But talking about BT16 Patamon, I think it could be a really nice card for the deck, just because you could evolve into an Angel or free with a reduced cost of 1, and your main targets would pretty much just be Angemon and this Angemon for BT14 and 16. Obviously, if you want to go slightly more Angel route, you could just do that as well, but I thought these 2 would be pretty solid bets overall, but I'll get them to a little bit later, so that's nice. And the inherit is pretty much the same thing as Blueco, Pale, and the Snowagu, where it's just trash top source, but it's not one per turn, so that's the only difference. And of course, if you want to run more Ice Snow stuff, you could run the Ex8 Ice Snowagumon for just the searchability, and it has Ice Clad on a Wookiee, so that's pretty nice. You could also run BT15 Goemon X, and you could run some Snow Bee stuff. In my list, I do run Pseudomon, so it's searchable like that. And of course, funny thing is that Kumamon is also a Beastkin, so that's also really nice. And I think that it could be really funny for the Inherit because it basically can stun stuff. Since you would usually have more sources, I think that can come up quite often sometimes. Then we have a Soldier in terms of Kudamon to basically grab your vaccine stuff, and since the Penguinmon line from Ex8 is all vaccine, I think it's a pretty good option, along with of course BT14 Patamon to basically potentially get a free evolution. Then we have BT16 Agumon, the Light Fang and Nightclaw one, where it can search do 2-color stuff, which I think could be nice, and the Inherit is also really good to help your Skymon and stuff look longer. And also the Promo Patamon to basically grab any dual color yellow card, which is also nice. Then we also have Korikaku and some other hybrids. This one just for stun. This one I think could be funny if you want to run a lot of yellow tamers to draw, and also just because it's dual color. We also have BT14 Kakumon just because again strips any 2 sources, along with can potentially stun. Similar to this Inherit, which is nice. And then we have the Kumamons to essentially just act as hybrids and also do some stripping here and there, and the BT18 Kurumon works really well with the Tommies, so there's that. And I know I added these 2 Tommies later in the video because I kind of forgot about them at first, but again, they're here now, so there's that. And then we also have, again, BT16 Angemon, just because it's an angel for your BT16 Patamon, and I think it could be kind of nice because if you do win some jamming stuff, you could swing with your level 4 and then play this to basically unsuspend it, and again, there could be some nice combos. And the main reason I actually added the BT8 Rapidmon is because its suspend effect isn't limited to like yellow or green tamers. So if you want to do yellow base, I think it could be a pretty funny option to just DP minus some stuff. And then of course we have the BT14 Angemon just as another angel target. And I can imagine the Unleashing could be pretty nice from time to time, along with the fact that if you just randomly fight a deck that has a lot of Virus Digimon, I think the when attacking could also be pretty nice. And finally, the last one is just Lobomon, just if you want to do a more hybrid base. And of course, it's the Lobomon for BT18 to sort your security. Then we have some level 5s, and I know this is going to sound kind of stupid, but I think Sylphimon could be a really funny option, the BT16 one with Partition, because in my list, I was thinking, hey, I want some Korikakumons, and I do also want some yellow stuff, so maybe this could be a funny idea to pretty much just have a random DNA. And since some of the stuff in the deck does have on play, I figured if it gets partitioned, hey, I could still trigger the plays. So I thought that was funny. And for a more obvious option, I think the BT8 Shakumon could also be a little bit funny because you do get the recover and you do run a lot more yellow and blue stuff. So I think this could be kind of funny. And if you do DNA, you could potentially bounce stuff. So that's pretty nice. But I think these two as a funny option could be, just something to catch your opponent off guard. And the only downside about the Sylphimon is that it's unsearchable with, like, say, even your boost. That's why I put the Wisteria here, pretty much. But still, having Partition and having TP minus, I thought could be really funny. I also did think the Promo Nightmon, if you do have it, could be really funny since Skymon could go a little bit wide. So I thought, hey, if this works, you could go wide a little bit, I'll slam this, and then basically have a Mega set for next turn potentially. And also it is part black, so you could just want other aces like Whitemon and also another Siegemon if you want to, but that's about it. And we also have 2 Megas here, of course, just Ryugumon, because I thought that, hey, this is really funny because you could spit out your Polar Bearmon if they try to remove it, so I thought that's really neat. Along with Venusmon, just because it's a really good Mega to just stop when Digivolving, and since you do one minus Sec 1 stuff, you could always trigger it. And I didn't put it here, but Metal Siegemon is also another solid ace if you want to put that as well. Then moving on to Tamers, the 2 Tommies obviously works with your hybrid stuff, and they do strip sources, so that's always nice. And of course we have some TKs here, just because again you do want yellow cards, so you could easily just you just want to grab any of your line, and this one to pretty much just work with BT14 Patamon. Then I also thought that if you did want to run DNA stuff, Cody and TK would be pretty funny because you could free play your Patamons, and then if you do end up being named, you could do Digivolve, which I thought was really solid overall. Now moving on to some options. I do think that Ice Snow or Ice Statue would be pretty funny simply just because of the fact that you could bounce stuff to opponent's hand and also strip sources. But it's a 5-cost option, I don't think it's that bad. We also have Soai, which I think is always a pretty decent option because it strips top 4, along with the fact that it stops Digimon with evolution sources from attacking, so that's pretty nice. Howling Memory Boost, again, just there for like the strip 2 and stun, along with the fact that we also have Instant Blizzard, which I think can be pretty nice just because it trashes all the sources from all your Digimon, at least one of them, the bottom one, and it could kind of stop some stuff from swinging, so that's nice. Also, we have Wisteria Boost, just because, again, another thing to sort out Sylphimon, so I thought that was a pretty nice option to have. And this pretty much is my updated Ice Snow deck for Ex8. And I know this is pretty much the first deck on my channel that I kind of went back to, making a new deck profile for, but I really do enjoy Ice Snow, just because there's so many options you could just mess around with. You could just do this, you could do yellow base, or you could just do a more hybrid focus base if you want to as well. But again, overall, just a really fun and flexible deck, along with the fact that the Ex8 line I think is again really solid because Polo Bearmon really helps you control the board, along with Digimon helps you like kind of be a little bit like nicer in terms of just going up your chain. And I think overall the deck is really fun, and I really do wish we got a new wave of support anytime soon, just because I think it'd be really nice to see, along with the fact that I really am hoping for a Skymon Ace or something like that, just because of the fact that Suzune is all tones, which is really funny. I don't think there's a lot of ways to really trigger that. Sadly, I think the only thing you could do is play Summon Frost if they hit from security, but again, there's not really a whole lot of stuff that does that, which kind of sucks, but someday. And I really do hope you guys liked the video. Of course, like, comment, subscribe if you did, and I really hope to see you guys later. So, signing off.